Good afternoon and welcome to this TaxCalc webinar. Today we are looking at productivity in practice and we will be focusing on the new TaxCalc release. Joining us today is Stephen Poole, a member in practice. Stephen, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're joining us today?
Yeah, certainly. So I'm Stephen Paul. I'm the founder and MD of Valued Accountancy. Set Valued Accountancy up in April 2011, so just hit our 10-year anniversary. Sadly, we can't have a big party or anything like that, but maybe later on the year. Why am I joining today? Because I love TaxCalc. I'll be brutally honest. TaxCalc has transformed how Valued work, how we interact with our clients, and I'm a huge fan of it. Just here to offer any practical tips, any support, any guidance that I can in terms of how TaxCalc has helped us.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Stephen. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share my screen and we are going to be going through a few slides before we go into the software itself a bit later on. Something I'd like to mention is that throughout this presentation, we are doing a live Q&A. So we'll be taking questions throughout. So feel free to pop anything that comes to mind in the question panel within the GoToMeeting setup. Ben Handley, one of the product specialists here at TaxCalc, will be helping to answer those questions throughout. And then we'll be doing a live Q&A with Stephen and myself at the end of the session. So productivity in practice. First of all, let's talk a little bit about TaxCalc, where we've come from and where we're going. So TaxCalc started about 30 or 40 years ago now, and it was originally on a beta hardware program. Since then, it has come on leaps and bounds, and the software you see today is entirely different. It is a cloud suite of products, everything from your practice management to your tax, to accounts production, and even your company's house forms. So a bit more about Valued Accountancy. So Stephen, you started with us in 2018, and since then, TaxCalc Valued has experienced exponential growth. TaxCalc has allowed Valued to now move on to a completely virtual working environment and drones and paparazzi. So Stephen, could you just tell us a little bit about your journey with TaxCalc and also what's this about drones and paparazzi?
To be fair, when I first looked at the slide, I went, really, what the heck is that about? Well, let's go into that in a second. But my journey with TaxCalc, it was very, it's a simple journey, to be honest. I was using one of the other providers. I was using Digita at the time. Wasn't 100% happy with the service I was getting from Digita, but to be brutally honest, I really was unhappy with the amount I was paying Digita every single month. One of the things that I had was we wanted to reconsider where we were going to be in the next 12 months. And it was January 2018. I had 2 clients that came to us that needed a trust tax return doing, and I was like, right, okay. Spoke to Digita, and they were going to actually upgrade my whole package, but also extend the deal for another 12 months. So I was basically tied in for a lot longer than what I wanted to be. Spoke to the team at TaxCalc, and the team at TaxCalc had me set up with the full product suite on a trial for 30 days, and I managed to do those 2 tax returns very quickly, very easily. And to be honest, I realized at that stage that TaxCalc was an organization that fitted the culture of Valued. It had a very similar fit. It was all about the clients, it was all about the service, and working with TaxCalc was just such an easy move for me. So what we then did was we got back on the phone, we had some other tax returns to do. We were trying to fudge the system, I guess, which is any clients that had left, we were deleting off the old Digita system, we were then putting new clients back on. We just made a decision that actually that was not going to be a working product for us. So we added the self-assessment part in there as well, and we ended up doing tax returns on TaxCalc and Digita for that first January period. We then demoed it to the team. That thing was the 1st of February or very early February, and the team said, can we please move? it was a unanimous decision. Every single team member just said, we want to move across to a cloud solution, a cloud product. So we moved across straight away back in January, February 2018, and we've never looked back, to be honest. It's a tool that I've gone on record of saying has saved me absolutely thousands of pounds in terms of money, but also, and probably more importantly, it's actually saved me hours and hours and the pounds associated with those hours in terms of actually production of accounts, production of tax returns. So it's really, really helped us to actually push forward as a business. You've got on the slide there about us actually giving us the ability to work remotely. We took the decision around about 2018 that every single client manager, every person that would do a tax return within Valued would always have a laptop as opposed to a desktop machine, and we would have them the ability to actually access TaxCalc remotely. When the pandemic hit 12 months ago, it didn't make a jot of difference to us. We were able just to pick our laptops up and work remotely, to the point of we've actually took the decision that we're going to continue remote working and just have hot desk facilities in the office. So that's been a great experience for us as well. The only other thing just to quickly add in there as well before we talk about drones and paparazzi was I actually acquired another practice around about 12 months ago. That was also a TaxCalc practice, but they hadn't gone for the full remote working capabilities, the Cloud Connect version. They hadn't done that. They'd gone for the more regimented on the server approach. I spoke to the team at TaxCalc and said, this is what's happening, what do we need to do? And I was absolutely blown away with how much support we got in terms of moving the data from the fixed server onto the Connect version. Everything was done, I think, within 24, 48 hours, something like that. It was probably the least painful part of the merger, of the acquisition. It worked like a dream. So again, the support that I got from TaxCalc there was absolutely phenomenal. Drones and paparazzi, yeah. The drones, Matt and some of the team said, can we come and interview you in the office? I can't remember when it was about 2 years ago, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and can we come and interview you? Yeah, not a problem. Well, actually, we ended up with Tracy, the CEO of TaxCalc, and I think Matt and a couple of others there, and there was it was like a film crew turned up, and I was like, what the heck's going on here? Yeah, sat doing this to a full TV studio, it felt like, and then all of a sudden we ended up with a drone coming out and actually filming the building and the entrance to the building. It was absolutely fantastic. I still remember that. It's a fond memory that I've got of working in the office, but actually it just helped to cement the relationship, and I'm so proud and pleased to help the guys at TaxCalc in terms of their journey, because of the service that they've offered Value, because of the help and support that they've offered us. I'm more than happy to help them and to recommend TaxCalc to anybody that is looking to use the software.
That's amazing to hear. Amazing to hear, Stephen. So I'm just gonna back and forth with you a bit on this, because I know that you mentioned a couple of bits there that are of particular interest, especially to some of our customers who aren't currently on the cloud. What I'd like to go into a little bit is, in working on the cloud, how has it changed? You know, how were you expecting your working style to change before coronavirus? After coronavirus, did the cloud help that experience at all?
Yeah, the simple answer is yes. The cloud helped that experience. Well, it facilitated it. Yeah, it facilitated. Let's be brutally honest. The major part for me, I think, how did it help in terms of the planning of that? Nobody planned for coronavirus. Nobody planned for lockdowns. If you were lucky, you might have a data recovery plan if you'd actually thought about it. A lot of accountants hadn't thought about that, hadn't thought about, right, if there's a fire, what happens? It was something that we had looked at with Valued, and I'd spoke to our IT company a long time ago, probably 3-4 years ago, and they'd said, look, what happens if the building burns down? And then actually what happened a couple of weeks after that discussion was they were actually building the building that we ended up in, and our server was in their their building, which was opposite the other side of the street, and a digger actually went through the data cable. So it meant that we couldn't access our server. And I think it was back up and running very quickly. They moved our server at the time, put it into a different place. It was up and running probably 24, 48 hours, something like that. But it did identify a weakness in our structure, in our IT infrastructure there. So we took that decision to move everybody to a laptop, so that if ever that happened, we can't legislate for what happens at Xero server or TaxCalc server or anywhere like that. We can make sure we've got as much best in service there, but actually we can legislate where we have a problem with data connection. So we always wanted it to have the ability whereby the team could go out, they could meet the clients at their premises, they could do their tax return, they could finalize the accounts, whatever it might be, within the client's premises or at home, because culture and working at home is something that's always been really important to us and valued, to me personally, but also it gives us that ability to be more flexible. And that was really, really important to me. And I can't remember exactly how much extra the Cloud Connect is, but it was a minuscule cost for us. It was something that actually really, really benefited us, and it was a game changer, to be honest. So when the pandemic hit, when the Chancellor and Boris stood up and said, right, everyone's remote working, we then had a decision of, right, how does this impact the firm? It was actually, we took our laptops home on the Monday and we're up and running on the Tuesday. It was then actually, how do we talk to clients? So how do we facilitate client meetings and things like that? That was more interesting for us at that stage. But in terms of the infrastructure, there was no difference whatsoever in terms of how we actually were able to support our clients.
That's great news. And that kind of brings me on to a nice point. And so with the TaxCalc Cloud Connect, obviously it's the database in the cloud, not the software, which means you're only having to work through downloading kilobits of data each time. So even if you're at a client's accommodation with very little bandwidth, so possibly operating on a 3G mobile hotspot, you'll still have full access to the TaxCalc Cloud Connect. So Stephen, what was it like before you had TaxCalc as a product or service?
It was painful. It was genuinely painful. Yeah, I've used various bits of software. I remember back in 2011 when I first set up Valued, I remember ringing Ollie from the 2020 group and going, Ollie, my old firm were with CCH, I think at the time. I don't want to pay 18, 20 grand for a bit of software. What do I do? And he recommended BTC at the time. I went out, I got BTC. It worked fine for us for a good number of years. And then, like many firms, you walk around Accountex, Xerocon, various other places, and you hear, oh, you should be using Digity, you should be using CCH, you should be using the big S software, yeah? Because that's going to transform everything. It's going to all integrate. It's going to take away the pain points and everything else that you've got. We had the demo. Honestly, the demo was amazing. Yeah, everything was going to work beautifully. It was all going to integrate. It was going to save me hundreds of hours a year in terms of everything. We signed the deal. We had the training. I always remember, I think I might have said this to you in the past, but I ended up with this box turned up with my name on, a parcel, opened this massive box, and there was a lot of what looked like second-hand computers in this box. And I'm going, what is it? Hey? And I genuinely thought someone was having a joke with me and sending me their rubbish, to be perfectly honest. So I rang the courier company and went, what is it? Why have you sent me this? Who sent me it? It was actually the software training for the cloud version. We were going to get trained on these computers, and it was like, this is just crazy. I'm not sure this works. The team then did the training. I deliberately didn't go into the training myself because I didn't want to know how to actually facilitate the tax return, to do everything myself. It was like, right, I've got a team that do that now. Let's let them do it. If I know how to do it, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to roll my sleeves up and do the returns, do the accounts. Actually, stop doing that, Stephen. Many people tell you just you're employing people to do that, so let them be the best people that they can be. Didn't do the training, but my team came out and they all went, this doesn't work as nice as what it should work. Are you sure? Yeah, it's got to just be the training. Don't worry about it. We'll do it. and then it was just so painful, as I say. Accounts was meant to integrate with tax, it didn't. Yeah, database meant to integrate with the practice management part, was meant to integrate with the accounts and with the tax, it didn't. Yeah, when clients changed addresses, you ended up updating in 2 and 3 places. It was just a painful process, to be perfectly honest. TaxCalc came along. As I said, I ended up doing tax returns in January 2018 because it was so easy to do, and I just went, actually, you know what, I'll do this without any training from TaxCalc, without any support. It was that easy to do. Obviously, I'm a fully qualified accountant. I've done tax returns for many, many years, but it was easy to do. It was easy to use. I always remember, and I don't know if I've ever said this to you, Matt, but we had a work experience lad came to us a couple of years ago, and one of the things that we wanted him to do was to do a full set of accounts from cradle to grave, in essence there. So from the records coming in, it was a very basic tax return, sole trader income and expenditure. So he did the analysis on it, and then he did his tax return on it as well. So we actually got him to do his full set of accounts, including the tax return. I obviously reviewed it and everything. We then discussed it with the client, and he's seen the full journey, because it was really important to us that he could actually see that full cradle to grave approach in terms of production of a set of accounts and a tax return. And he did every single part of it on TaxCalc. There was no issues whatsoever. So again, it really helped. And I think that reinforces how easy it is to actually use the software.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Stephen. One thing I'm really pleased you mentioned there is some of the integrations between the tax and the accounts, because some of the stuff we're going to be going through later on when we go into the software itself is some of the new integrations we've brought through, and some of the stuff that we're looking at bringing into the software, and we're going to go into that in a bit more detail. But what we've gone through there is what software was like before, what it was like coming onto TaxCalc, and it's really pleasing to hear you're saying such positive things. But when you first were looking at getting that new software, I know you mentioned Digita, I know you mentioned BTC, but where did you start that search when you initially decided to move away from Digita?
To be honest, I went onto the forums, I went onto the groups on the Facebook pages. I'm a huge fan of Go Proposal right now. So Go Proposal have a great forum for other accountants, for people Go Proposal users. So I tend to look at forums like that. I look on Twitter, I ask selected accountants that I know well and just say, right, what is it that you're using? Is there any tools that we should be looking at? Because let's be honest, as I said before, we all walk around Accountex, we all walk around ZeroCon and various other roadshows like this, and you've got every man and his dog just coming out to you and saying, we've got the best at X. Actually, I want those recommendations from other accountants, from other advisors. I want that trusted opinion. I want the warts and all. I want to know what it's good at, but I also want to know what it's bad at as well. So I did a little bit of research there, asked around. TaxCalc was a name that kept on coming up. TaxFiler was also a name that came up a number of times as well at the same time. But it was the support and it was the customer service. It was that cultural feel of TaxCalc that made such a substantial difference for me. It was when we actually picked up the phone, I felt like I was the only person that mattered to that person at TaxCalc. When we talked about drones and paparazzi before, I knew that some of the team were coming up from TaxCalc to do a little bit of a video about us and how we'd used it. I didn't for one second expect Tracy, the CEO of TaxCalc, to turn up and to actually ask my opinion about the software. I didn't expect that for 1 second. Yeah, we had a conversation, Tracy and I had a conversation, I think it was around about 3 weeks, a month ago, about making tax digital and what my views are on things like that. I didn't expect that sort of conversation, because ultimately, she's the CEO of the business. Yeah, I'm just one of the users, but actually it's that relationship that you've got that strengthens the longevity of my connection to TaxCalc, and that's the reason that I keep on referring to you guys. But that's fundamentally the reason I switched to TaxCalc straight away was because of that friendly nature, because of that cultural fit. That's why I changed straight away.
And I guess that's kind of what made TaxCalc stand out from those other providers, for yourself at least.
100%. 100%.
But in terms of the support and what have you, and you know the ethos that we have, that's fantastic. But are there any features within the software that really sold you on buying it for your practice?
The main thing for me was the ease of use. It was the way that without any training, I could literally go onto it and I could prepare that tax return on that day one. I could do 2 trust tax returns within a couple of hours. I could then start doing the sole trader tax returns, the very basic stuff, very, very quickly without having to have any training from TaxCalc. That was the bit that really sold it to me. You've got a lot of functionality in there. You've got the what if planner. I absolutely love that when I'm talking to clients, saying, right, well, depending on what your income is next year, this is what you're looking at, your personal tax bills. You've got the basic stuff, so the accounts production, the corporation tax, the dividend checker, yeah, that's all stuff that, in my opinion, you need to be providing as a software provider. You need that. That's your table stake to have that. But it's things like the support, it's things like the what if planner, it's things like the dividend checker, it's things like the practice management suite. It's all of these other tools that make a big difference, but it's also how it all integrates with each other. So instead of having to input an address in 1 or 2 or 3 different places, you put it in one place and it flows beautifully throughout the rest of the software. You've got the fetch side where we were having a conversation before about the government support and how can we actually get this information in terms of what grants people have. Clients don't always remember what income they've got from different places. The ease of use, the fetch, the pull part of TaxCalc is a game changer. It just helps us to help our clients, but more importantly, it gives us the ability to turn around tax returns very, very quickly. I'm delighted to say I think we've submitted 3 tax returns now already. We've got another 50 on the go. I can see from the stats that we've got there. I'm delighted that we're able to do that. How can we do that? Because it's so easy to use, and I think that's the critical part. The tools, they're really, really important, but a big chunk of that is table stake. I think you've got to be able to do that. But it's, as I say, it's also about the relationships. So understanding how Valued works when we were first onboarded, and how TaxCalc can help us to push forward with our business. And TaxCalc felt like a natural extension to our business, as opposed to us having to just use a bit of software because it was the right thing to do. We wanted to use software that felt like us, if that makes sense.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephen. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next section of the presentation, and that's onto the release itself. So this is the March release of TaxCalc that we're going to be talking about today. First of all, the great news is obviously within that March release was the 2021 tax returns. And what we're going to have a look at within the breakdown here today is we're going to go through a couple of key pieces of information. So first of all, yes, we've got the 2021 self-assessment returns. We're also going to have a look at the self-employment income support scheme that is now included within the software, the Practice Management Plus bulk return creation feature, alongside the new CT600L, the transaction dates, which are now applicable within accounts production, the pension allowance summary, and the VAT filer worksheet. And those are a couple of the few things that we're going to be really focusing on today. Obviously, there was a lot more in this release, but we can't go through everything, unfortunately. So those are the things that we're going to be focusing on. So into the demonstration. Now, Stephen, I know that you mentioned we are going to be sharing a lot of this, have a bit of a tete-a-tete, and you're going to be giving us your thoughts on a couple of the features. So I'm going to run through them, show people what's available now, how it works, and then if you'd like to, as and when, just chime in and let us know of possibly new features that you might like to see, or also other things that you think could be useful within those areas. That'd be really useful. Okay, so let's jump straight in now. So we're going to start off within the accounts production module. So this has been under a lot of changes over the past year or so. So we're going to go straight into the account setup here. Now, the first thing is the accounts presentation. Within accounts production, we can now add the firm logo, but also your client logo to give that personality and that bit of a personalization approach to the accounts themselves. Then if we go within the financial statements, we've just added the function where you can state the names of people and how you want those formatted for your clients. So you could have first name, first initials, first and last name, first initial, and second initial. Then we're going to jump into the postings. Now, a really nice feature here is the new date we've entered. Now, this can be pulled from bookkeeping software, but it can also be pulled from Excel or when you're posting a batch yourself. Now, there are a lot of things that we want to do with this function. Now, just having it in there to start, I'm sure that everyone will recognize how much that gives them abilities in the future. But one of the real things we're looking to move forward with on this is the ability to then link, and this is part of the integration we were talking about, Stephen, whereby the posting of the accounts is going to allow you to then post to a director's, let's say post a director's dividend, and then you'll be able to pass that back to the SA100 to that director for that period. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, there's an awful lot more, but what are your thoughts on where we're up so far on that?
Yeah, I think there's two things there that have really impressed me, to be honest. The first one there is in terms of, it sounds so basic, but getting your logo on a set of accounts, getting your client's logo on a set of accounts. So when they're going off to the bank, that's what the big firms, that's what your KPMGs, your EYs and everyone are doing. They're all logoed up, yeah. It looks more professional. It's so basic, but such a game changer. It makes the accounts look more presentable. Having the client's names spelled in different ways in terms of initials, how you address the clients. Again, we've had clients that we don't think a lot of that, but a lot of clients, or some clients, do get a little bit, sorry, I'm going to use the word panicky about things like that. This actually gives us the flexibility to be able to support that now and to give us that information, or to provide the information in a different way. In terms of the batch posting there and the dates, as you were saying, I don't think it's a feature that's there just yet, but we can totally see where it's going to come from, where we look at the director's dividends. Yes, we're doing the dividends reconciliation in terms of the accounts back to the personal tax return, but imagine that we don't have to do that reconciliation every single time. We can actually get the dividends coming through there at a certain date. They then automatically go on to the tax return. That's absolutely fantastic if we can get to that. We've also got Making Tax Digital coming up very soon in terms of, and I know we're not talking about that as much today, but actually you can see which way the software is going to go in terms of being able to provide information in different formats depending on the different dates within a financial year as well. So I'm really impressed with those features.
Yeah, so it's exactly that. It's starting to paint the picture, isn't it? I mean, we can all see where accounts and tax are going in terms of what HMRC is foreseeing for MTD, and fingers crossed, you know, features like this do make the journey easier. So I'm just going to close this down. Oh, sorry, Stephen.
Sorry, Matt. I was just going to quickly say, I think the important bit for me here is that, again, I don't just want to be selling TaxCalc, but fundamentally, a big part of this is you guys seem to be at the forefront of the changes. It's not actually waiting for lots of requests. It's actually, this stuff keeps on developing. You can see how the product is developing, and it might not do everything we want it to today, but we can see that actually by starting to put year-end dates in there, by putting logos in there, by putting how we want to address clients in there, it's all little stuff that actually isn't that really important right now, but it does, it helps to take away some pain points and actually makes us have a better relationship with our clients.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's really what we're going for here. So as ever, we've got our check and finish, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to go through to the accounts production. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that set of accounts through and import that to the period. As soon as I've done that, we're going to go into the CT600 core, and we're going to go into the enhanced expenditure. Now that I entered that £40,000 as expenditure within the accounts, and we can see that's pulled through, I've actually entered that now as an R&D expenditure for employee costs. And this is going to take us into the CT600L. So this is why I wanted to go into the enhanced expenditure here. So first of all, I'm going to open up the supplementary pages, and we're going to go through to the research and development. So of course, within the R&D, we've got the RDEC here. Now I am claiming the RDEC for this individual. As you can see, I've claimed subcontracted by a large company. TaxCalc automatically worked out the rates for us. We've set the period for that. And then we can see that TaxCalc has done all of the calculations for us in regards to that RDEC claim. Continue through, and again, very simple to enter, and you can just go through easily within the simple step mode. Of course, you can use HMRC forms if you choose to. And then we've got the R&D relief also for the SMEs. Now, if I wanted to go into this further, I could go up back into the claim that was made. So this is actually the claim within the enhanced expenditure here. So we can go into that, and we can see the breakdown of that claim itself as well. And that's at the rate of 230, which has been automatically populated again for us. And this is all done through the TaxCalc wizards. One of the great features we've brought in regards to the CT600L is we've enhanced the check and finish functionality, whereby it is looking at everything you are entering within the CT600L and is flagging anything it needs further information on. So if I then go through into the check and finish, one thing actually to mention just very quickly in regard to the CT600L is looking forward to our next release, which will be the April release. That's going to include a supplementary breakdown page for you of the CT600L calculation. So that's about everything for the corporation tax return. Obviously, there has also been a lot of updates, so in terms of compliance updates, but that sums up the changes that we've made for the CT600L. We are only one of 3 suppliers we know of so far to have introduced these changes, so we are right at the forefront of this. And really, I mean, I think the simple steps are very nice to use there. Stephen, what are your thoughts on that setup?
I absolutely love it. Again, it feels like a natural extension of what we're doing. But what I do really like about it is it's continued the automation, it's continued the calculation by the software, as opposed to us having to input lots of different figures and do a lot of that manually. It is doing it electronically. It minimizes the risk of any error there. But also, as you say, you've got the check and file. The other huge thing for me as well, and I wasn't aware at the time, and I'll take you guys for granted a little bit. I wasn't aware at the time that there was only 3 vendors that actually got this out to clients. That's a huge problem. If we've got clients that need to do the claims, need to get everything submitted, but the software doesn't do it yet, that's a problem. Yeah. So I'm absolutely delighted that you've done that. But I do really, again, I like that development. Check and finish is a great tool. It's something that I've always liked as well.
So now we're going to move on to one of the features that I know particularly yourself, Stephen, was really keen on because of the ability to create these self-assessment tax returns. So come the 1st of February, do you want to be creating all of those manually? I mean, Stephen, how was it you explained that process to me the other day?
Oh, honestly, the other day I've been asking for this one for 2 years, so I'm absolutely delighted at this one. Absolutely delighted. What we normally have is we use the I was going to say the dashboard view along the bottom of the screen when you go onto your home screen, and it tells us how many tax returns are still outstanding at any one point. I absolutely love that tool. I think it's brilliant. It's a great way of actually finding out what percentage of our tax returns are completed and everything. And I think it's a great tool. Apart from it's got one problem. You've got to automatically generate, or you've got to generate, you can't automatically at the time generate each tax return. And we've got 1,000 tax returns that we do as a business. It took a long time to go in to every single client and roll it forward and just produce a tax return again. Yeah. How did we used to do that? Well, the team would do it automatically when they were producing the tax return. But it always meant that when I was wanting to know my numbers, it was a case of, right, well, is that return just to be generated? Is it that that client doesn't need a return this year? It's already been done by a previous accountant, or have they not been issued one, or multitude of different reasons, and you never quite knew. So what I used to do is when I used to sit there, normally once a year, and watch telly and just click and roll each one of them forward. And honestly, it took me at least one night, generally 2 or 3 nights. And it's the one thing that I've wanted TaxCalc to do for the last 2 years. So imagine my response when you showed me what you're about to show me. I was like, brilliant. This is exactly what I need. So.
Perfect. So let's go into it then. So this is within Practice Management Plus. So if I go into here and I can create work, I can now bulk create jobs. We can also bulk update jobs. So let's say in this instance, I want to select the clients who I will be acting on behalf of. So let's say I've selected these 3 clients and I'm doing their self-assessment returns. We can then continue through, select the tax returns. We'll select the job template and we'll say that's the SA tax return we want to use. Expected fee for these 3 clients is 500. The fee basis is fixed fee for those. And we'll activate those jobs and create the work. That's the key one that we're clicking here. Select the tax return that we want to create. So that's the 2020-21 return. Continue through. And as you can see here, what we've got is yet again, a check and finish summary. So it's looking at all of the data you've entered within the bulk service wizard. As you can see here, it has created those 3 jobs and it's created 2 work items. Now I know that's because Arlita Limited is actually a limited company, therefore an SA return cannot be created. So we can continue through and we can update those. And then when it comes through to next February, let's say maybe March, you don't really want to have to start worrying about them till then. What we can do is we can bulk create or bulk update those clients to then show the current tax year. Okay, on the self-assessment return then, I think something that's pretty prevalent given the last year that we've had is SEIS, Self-Employment Income Support Scheme. So within this self-assessment or sole trader, I've done the accounts now. So as you can see, I've created this set of accounts. We've created a new account code for you, and this is 0571 for Self-Employment Income Support Scheme allowance. I'll save that and close, and I'll just go straight into the SA100 return. If I go into the Your Work section, enter into that employment and import those accounts from accounts production, select the relevant accounts, and those have imported across. Now, if I go through now into the full form details, I can go into the other adjustments and I can see that self-employment income support scheme has been carried across for us from the account. So that's brilliant. But something Stephen mentioned earlier that might be a bit of a problem is if those clients, you're not doing the accounts for them and they haven't made you aware of self-employment income support scheme that they have received during the year. So what are you going to do? Well, our API with HMRC has now been updated to include that. So unfortunately, this won't be available just yet. This isn't something we can control. Unfortunately, this is actually something that HMRC selects directly. By about September, October time, you will expect these to come online, and then the SEIS will pull through automatically into the TaxCalc software for you. We've then got the ability to also see this within the summaries. So one of the things that Stephen did mention is that within the next year's calculation, it will show under the profit and loss for that company or that sole trade. I'm going to have a look into that. But the one thing that is worth mentioning is within the self-employment summary, which is likely something you can send to clients. It's likely something you do send to clients. And it does show within here that that has been included under that grant scheme, and it has collected the income there. So that's about everything for the self-employment income support scheme. But hopefully it's going to be useful. I mean, what are your thoughts on that one, Stephen?
I think the two things on there that's really, really important for me is we may be doing the accounts for the client, but what they might have done is they might have put their own, or well, they did put their own claim in terms of the government support. If they put their personal bank details on it as opposed to their business bank account, we would not know how much they've received. We'd like to think that we would, but we've actually updated our tax return questionnaire to include a section just about this government support so we can find out what we've got there. But it's also a second check to us where we're actually looking at each tax return and we can go through and say, right, have you received any government support with the client, because it's a separate box. I also like it because a lot of clients have really suffered hardship in the last 12 months, but actually they're not aware that all of this income needs to go on their tax return. So it's actually breaking it out as a separate line item in essence, and we can then have the discussion with the client when looking at the what ifs for next year. We can actually say, right, do we need to decrease it because we have received these grants? I've got one client that normally gets a big refund every single year. They're a subcontractor. They're not getting a refund this year. Some of the subcontractors that quite often come in at this time of year and say, can you do me tax return as quick as possible? They're not getting refunds because they've had a number of income streams here that haven't been taxed under the SEIS regime and everything in the past. So I think it's really helpful that it actually splits it out into different areas, and we can just keep an eye on it, and we can double check with the clients the position in terms of any grants that they have had. But we can also plan for the future in terms of what their income is going to be in terms of payments on account and things, with these grants included as well.
Absolutely, it gives you that visibility, doesn't it? And another piece of visibility that we have included within this year's update is the pension savings tax charge worksheet, which can now be sent to clients. So it has changed slightly from this. I'm on a sandbox version, so it is actually more prettier upon the eye. So it is easier to send this out to clients. So just print this as a worksheet. The reason this is so important is because for a long time, customers have wanted to be able to produce reports to provide their clients with information relating to the calculation of the annual pension allowance tax charge. That's why we've included it this year. We have also enhanced the wizard, and you can now generate a further report of information entered, and the resulting calculations, which is the important part here. It is breaking down those calculations so your clients can see what's going on. So that kind of closes us up on what we've done in the software. Obviously, there's some great features there. We haven't gone through everything today, mainly because we just simply don't have time. There was so much in this release. If you do want to find out more about the release, if you go into the notifications panel, you can go into here and you can see the release notes. If you go into the sorry, it's within the help section, and then if you go into the about, you can actually see the release notes here. They will be saved for you, so you can continue through on there. The final thing we're gonna go on to today before going into the Q&A section, and I hope I can see already there are a lot of questions for us, Stephen. So I hope got a dry throat because it looks like we're going to be answering quite a few questions. So the final thing I want to mention is this Excel worksheet. Now, this is really important given the changes that have just been released by HMRC. Obviously, they've just talked about the inability now to copy and paste. And a lot of software providers have recently been saying that this is going to stop bridging software. Now, this isn't true. Excel is still a digital software, and provided it is linking to your submission solution, that could be TaxCalc, that could be any other software provider, but provided your Excel spreadsheet links to your software, that is still quantified by HMRC as a digital link. That means you can continue using this going forward. Now, what we've done is we've created a Excel worksheet which you could use yourself, you could share with your clients. It's entirely up to you. This is free to use and it's available on our knowledge base. So if you do want to have a look, if you do want to check that out, please feel free to do so. I know, Stephen, you mentioned that you've heard a couple of, I'm going to say, worry messages from other suppliers telling you that you can't use Excel going forward. But we want to just say, whether you're using us for your VAT solution, whether you're using anyone else for your VAT solution, they are still capable solutions with the bridging involved. Okay, that does now bring us on to the Q&A. And I've got the questions up here on screen. I know Ben has very generously been answering a lot of them for us. But I can see that there are quite a few here, Stephen. So what I'm going to do is I'll read them out, and then if you'd like to share with me your thoughts. First of all, Stephen, what do you use for your practice management tool?
Yeah, so our practice management tool, we actually don't use TaxCalc right now. We have looked at TaxCalc, and I do recommend TaxCalc to some businesses. To some firms, what we actually use is we use Sender internally right now. Why do we not use TaxCalc? I think it's because we want the ability to interact with clients, to automate a massive chunk of our onboarding. It integrates with Go Proposal, I mentioned before, a few other things like that. But I do genuinely believe for some smaller firms that typically are running their workflow system, their practice management system on Excel. And let's be honest, there's lots of us have done that over the years. TaxCalc is a perfect solution to be able to do that.
Perfect. Okay, CT600, a schedule showing the information contained in Wizards would be useful with the ability to add in the print option. Okay, so this one we kind of can do. So I'm not quite sure how in depth you want the printout to go, but we can do a variety of print options. So if we go within the TaxCalc print options, you can add the separate additional calculations that you'd like to show. So whether that be the wizards themselves, which can't be printed, but you can print these sections, which are all the supplementary pages, etc. So if you could drop us a message on that one, just to explain what exact wizards you want to be able to see, then we can have a bit of a further look into that one. Have you updated the schedules in the tax returns and in the letters that are sent out to request the 2021 tax return letters? As in the post, I've had to tailor the schedules and letters in order to provide information to my clients. We have now updated all of that information. So that is now all up to date for the 2021. The only thing which is yet to be released is the what if planner, but that is something we're working on over the coming months. I believe that is due in the June release. So it should be with us in the next couple of months. Can I set up a loss for the 2021 period against the SEIS grant, and how can I do that? I believe so, absolutely. What I would recommend is that you give our support team a call on that question in particular, as they'll be able to go through that in more detail with you. Will it be possible to have individual directors' loan account balances displayed somewhere? Present if there are multiple directors, but only one has a overdrawn balance, this information isn't shown as to which director it is. Okay, I'll raise that one with the product team. Okay, just a quick question about the update process. So, Stephen, I think this is probably best for you to answer than myself. So, when updating the software, how is it you handle it, and how do you find that across the practice?
It's so easy to do. What we do internally, we're all working remotely. The update comes out. One of the team identify there's an update to do. We post it on our intranet on Workplace, and it's then done. It normally takes 5 to 10 minutes, something like that. It's not something that I do. One of the David, our head of solutions, does all of that for us. But he normally, I see the message saying, can everyone log out for 15 minutes, something like that. And the update just happens. So it's not a difficult process. It's really not a difficult process for us.
Perfect. So just in terms of within the software, it's literally just within here, within the notifications panel. You can then start the download. That happens in the background, so you can continue working while that's going. Once you're ready to actually do the update, this could be at the end of the day, this could be over lunch, you can just click update and it will quickly restart the application. As Stephen's mentioned, it's very quick. I know the last time I ran an update, it took less than a minute. And then it just literally restarts the software again within seconds. So cannot see the SEIS on your software. That is held within the supplementary pages on the full form. So it's other adjustments here. We've just had a thank you for your input, Stephen, from one of our members on the line.
Thank you.
Okay, this would be good to have your input on as well, Stephen. So will it be possible to have individual directors' loan account balances displayed somewhere? At present, I have multiple directors, but only one has an overdrawn balance. This information isn't shown as to which director it is. Have you experienced this yourself?
Not that I remember. I do believe, or how we would treat it is, we would actually have different codes within TaxCalc for each of the directors, so different nominal code in essence there. Whether that would then pull over that specific director as having a director's loan, or whether you would have to enter it as in the free text box, you possibly have to do that. But I would tackle it by normally having a different nominal code for each director.
Perfect. Just in regards to that question on SEIS, I've actually just added an answer to your question within the questions area, just because there is also a KB we've got, which details that in a bit further for you as well. Hey, Stephen, can you still hear me?
Yeah, got you there, Matt. Got you there, Matt.
There you go. Sorry about that. Just dropped out for a moment. Okay, so on to the next question. Can I still use TaxCalc Return as a standalone program? I use Sage for accounts at the moment and Excel spreadsheets, which I like to transfer the tax return myself. Yes, of course, you can still use TaxCalc as a standalone product. You can use just the tax module if you choose to. There's absolutely no problem there. We don't restrict you to using the full suite. You know, it's not all or nothing. One of the great things about TaxCalc is it is pick and choose. So if you only want certain modules, you only need certain modules. I know, Stephen, that you don't have all modules of the software. You've selected the modules that work for your practice, and then you use alternative software for the other parts. And we have absolutely no issues if customers feel that that is the best way for their practice to work going forward. Okay, I've got a question about training. So, Stephen, for yourself, how was it that you trained staff on TaxCalc? And I'm also going to share something that we've recently introduced to help customers. But if you'd like to just explain what you've done to help customers, help your staff first instance on the software.
Yeah, so it's very up. We onboarded a new team member yesterday. Katie joined us yesterday. What Katie had yesterday was she had a basic induction with myself, learned about the business and everything. She then had spent yesterday afternoon working on Center, Zero, and Dex there as well, just some of the core products that we've got. But today she's now spending time with part of the team talking about TaxCalc, so understanding where you're getting information. A lot of it, if you've already been in the accountancy sector, if you've used some of the other tools, you've already got some of the knowledge, and it's relatively simple to use. I do love the feature where you can switch between HMRC forms and simple steps as well. So sometimes you might say, actually, where should this go? You switch it across, and then you can enter the information there. So I do like that. We get the team to ask as many questions as they have in terms of getting them up to speed. But a big part of it, it's about just getting them to use the software, because we do find it very, very easy to use, but also the support line. So anything that we're not sure about, we encourage the team to speak to TaxCalc directly and to understand what help that they can provide, or what support they can provide.
Yeah, so we do offer absolutely free telephone and email support for all of our customers. One of the things that we have recently introduced, though, is the video training guide. So you can find this on the TaxCalc website under support within the video training guide section here. Within here, we've got the getting started videos. So this is fantastic for new joiners to practices, because these are videos on all sections of the software, and these go through small get to know the software videos, going through everything from the accounts production to users and security roles. We even then go into things such as the Time, Practice Management Plus, AML Center, and GDPR Center. Furthermore to that, we've then also got the advanced training videos. Now, these go into more detail within particular aspects at the moment just of the tax returns, but we are looking to expand on both of these training series within the near future. So as you can see, we've got advanced training videos here on capital allowances, capital gains, foreign income, and many, many more. So if you feel like there is something more that you'd like to know about, feel free to let us know. We're happy, as I say, these videos are things we are looking to add to. So we are looking to make these training series as useful as possible. In addition to that, we've just taken on a new member of staff, a customer success manager, who will be offering training services to our customers. That is a charged for service, but I can't tell you how useful it is to have a bit of one-on-one time with someone that really knows the software. Stephen, have you used the training series yourself? Have you had any of your staff use them?
I'll be brutally honest, I didn't even know it was there until now, Matt. So I'm absolutely, to be honest, I'm blown away. And the best bit for me is when I look at that screen, I've not seen a video that's longer than 8 minutes. It could be that you've just showed certain ones, but I didn't see a video that was more than 8 minutes. That's bite-sized training for me. That's exactly what I want. I want something that I can sit down, have a cup of coffee, and just watch a quick video and understand what's happening there. I know there was a question within our team when we were doing some tax returns at the back end of last year about foreign income and where it needed to go on the tax return. There was something a bit strange with that, so we need to look at that. We did end up ringing, or I believe one of the team ended up ringing. TaxCalc got the support, but now that we've got that ability to go on, find the issue, that would find the part of the tax return we're trying to do or the accounts we're trying to do, that's absolutely fantastic. So I do love that. Thank you for that. It's actually something I'm going to pass out to our team. So I'm actually going to put the link to that straight away as we'll finish. I'm going to put that on our intranet and say this lot's here.
I think one of the nice things to note is that you know, yes, speaking with a new member of staff is great, but sometimes, you know, to learn a new piece of software, you do need to sit there yourself and just play with it. And having these videos really allows you to do just that, because you're not going to, you know, trip over yourself if you've got these videos to fall back on. We are running over, so if it's okay with you, Stephen, we'll just do one or two more questions. There are plenty more, and we'll ensure that we do answer these. This will probably be via email after the session. But please don't hesitate to drop us any questions via email to support@taxcalc.com if you do have questions about the software itself, or if you've got any inquiries into any of the software or the new features, you can email us at sales@taxcalc.com and we are more than happy to help. Okay, so just a couple of other questions. First of all, is a fully cloud solution coming? I think this is worth answering. It is something we are looking at. We have got the Cloud Connect, which means it is only the desktop application installed. You're still technically in the cloud because the database is in the cloud, and you know, you still can access it from anywhere. A cloud solution in itself is something we are definitely looking at, but I can't give you a time frame on that. Stephen, in terms of cloud software, in terms of our cloud, I mean, I know that you use Xero and other cloud software. What kind of differences would you say that you've noticed in the use of these software?
Be brutally honest, the only time that we ever have an issue, and I'm being very, very panicky here, is if we've got, so Katie, when she started yesterday, we had to download the software onto her laptop, where normally you would just go to a browser and type in taxcalc.com or whatever the login was for that. That's the only problem. That's the only difference that we've ever had. Yeah, I've got no issue whatsoever in it in its current format. I'm not really sure what difference it would add to me personally. Perhaps some of the people watching can think of a reason, but I can't think of a reason why I would want or require 100% cloud product there. It's not a problem whatsoever. If, let's be honest, one of the issues that you might have is that your laptop gets stolen or gets dropped, damaged, something like that. When you get your new machine, you download the software onto it. It takes minutes to download that connected part. It's not a problem whatsoever for us. So I don't know if that helps or not.
I think that's a good answer. So if it is true cloud you're looking for, it is something we're looking at. Please feel free to contact our sales team for more information on that. Sales@taxcalc.com. Final question, because Stephen, we're encroaching on your time here. So final question. I've got one here which is quite useful. Stephen, have you used the e-sign function in TaxCalc yet?
Yeah, we have used the e-sign function. Again, it's a function that I do like. It's not a one that we use for every single client, for every single return. Again, it's something that we have spoke to the team at TaxCalc about. What we would like is a little bit more flexibility in terms of the content box. So we want to personalize a little bit more what we send out to a client in terms of them actually being able to get how much tax is owed on a cover sheet on the front of the email instead of having to go and look at a page within the report. So it is something that we have used. It's something that we're going to trial again this year with clients, and a decision that we're going to make whether we basically want to go all in with the product or not. So it's something again that I think for a lot of smaller firms would work really, really well. But what we're keen to do is just customize that a little bit more than what we've got. I think it was, I can't remember the number of characters or words. I think it was,
it's 100 characters.
We nearly got it, but not quite. Yeah, not quite. So I know that is something that the team at TaxCalc have been looking at.
So the great news on that one, and hopefully this also answers the question here, is on the next release, which will hopefully be towards the end of April, early June, we will be removing the character cap within the eSign function. So you'll be able to type as much as you want to those clients. Another thing to note is that I know you have mentioned there about external documents. Yes, that is something we're interested in. The other option that you've got within TaxCalc is, of course, the document exchange software, whereby you can put any type of document in there, save it off, and it can be encrypted for only your client to access. Okay, we are running very over now, so I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us today, Stephen. It's been fantastic to have you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for asking us. If anybody has got any questions as well that they wanted to ask me specifically, feel free to connect on LinkedIn or anything. That's not an issue, or on Twitter.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Stephen. So I'll say thank you from me, and I'll say thank you from Ben. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. And yes, any other questions, feel free to get in touch with ourselves, or as Stephen has just so kindly offered, get in touch with Stephen directly. Have a great day. Thank you.